Many might be well aware of the Bermuda Triangle and the numerous strange disappearances surrounding the location. Many are not yet aware of the Devil's Sea, located near Japan and often described as the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. According to the Japanese urban legend, the area of the Devil's Sea is that of danger and mystery, as many Japanese vessels have completely vanished from the face of the earth when entering the zone, despite there having been perfect weather at the time. Despite the many efforts made by the Japanese government to cover up the claims, in fear of the port economies being affected by the legend, the fears surrounding the area only continued to rise as more and more vessels were missing. Japanese government officials were already well aware of the strange danger of the location before popular rumors began spreading surrounding the location. In fact, the Yokohama Coast Guard of the region outlined the area as a danger zone that was to be avoided at all costs, though never elaborated as to why the area was given that classification. It would not be for another few decades before researchers would discover what caused the number of strange disappearances and the true reason as to why the area is considered a massive dangerous territory. It appears that for some unknown reason, the area seems to hold a large amount of pressure of methane gas that becomes concentrated in a region and acts similar to that of timed explosives. These methane hydrate gases can spontaneously explode if the temperature surrounding the area slightly rises to 18 degrees Celsius. Alongside the evidence of the methane concentrates and underwater pressure, researchers also discovered additional evidence of a supermassive underwater volcano in the area of the Devil's Sea. These large volcanoes have been discovered in the past to be able to erupt at sporadic times and even cause instances of seismic activity in the oceans nearby that of Japan that could create miniature tsunamis and large waves throughout the region, even during a seemingly perfectly weathered day. This has led researchers to believe that the underwater supermassive volcano could also be at the center of the formation of these methane hydrate gases all throughout the region, and other strange anomalies reported throughout the Devil's Sea, such as that of glowing light underwater, sudden waves and boiling spots, ultimately proving the legitimacy of the fears and claims surrounding the location. The Chicago Willis Tower sighting. Back in 2017, on the 24th of July, at approximately 5:10 p.m., several eyewitnesses claimed to have seen a large insectoid creature flying and landing on the Chicago Willis Tower. Eyewitnesses had quickly called a man by the name of Lon Strickler, of whom runs a website known as Phantoms and Monsters, and alerted him to their sighting of the strange creature, trying to figure out what it could be. The eyewitnesses described the creature as being roughly 6 feet in height and perched atop the Chicago Willis Tower, with a wingspan of roughly 8 feet and jagged wings similar to that of a moth. The body of the creature was described as being similar in design to that of a praying mantis, with a dark green hue and legs that seemed to be human-like. Shortly after being spotted by eyewitnesses, the creature jumped from the tower and began flying away. The eyewitnesses then claimed that as the creature was flying away, it began changing shape as if it were shape-shifting into a different form, into something that was described as being a human, insect, and bird hybrid. According to Lon Strickler, the owner of the Phantoms and Monsters website, this creature has been sighted more than 22 times within 2017 alone, believing many to hold the sentiment that the creature is residing within Chicago, as more and more sightings every year seem to hold similar descriptions of this human-insect-bird hybrid. Egypt Unfinished Obelisk. An obelisk is customarily characterized as a tall and thin landmark, with 4 sides merging to a smaller than expected pyramidal shape at the top. Perhaps one of the most famous ancient megaliths found in Egypt is that of the Unfinished Obelisk. The massive stone has fascinated archaeologists for years, and they have said that once it was finished, it was going to be over 37 meters in height. This giant obelisk also weighs over 1,000 tons, while others have suggested it weighs over 1,250 tons. The reason this giant structure was never used is because the ancient Egyptians had difficulty removing the block of stone. As they attempted to move it, a giant crack appeared down the structure. After this, the stone was no longer able to be used, so it was left there where it was. Due to its size and weight, the structure hasn't changed much since ancient times. In fact, to this day, you can still go and visit the site where it's located. Every year, thousands of people travel to marvel at its size. It's been estimated by Egyptologists that the stone was abandoned during the 18th dynasty. Archaeologists have said that the amount of man-hours that would have been put into this stone would have been likely to have been in the thousands, with the sad part being it didn't even get used. These giant structures were often used by the ancient Egyptians and were often placed at the entrances of things like temples. These giant stone structures would have stood proud outside of Egyptian monuments and would have been proof of their capabilities. It's incredible to think how the ancient Egyptians only had basic tools and yet were able to create such massive structures. One of the problems the workers faced when building these massive structures were looking for stones that had no damage. They would have to ensure the whole rock didn't have any uneven surfaces. If it did, the whole process would have been left. Just like what happened with the unfinished obelisk. Although ancient Egypt was an impressive civilization, it did get conquered by other nations, and what's sad is that some of these obelisks have turned up in other countries. There are said to be fakes, but up to 25 of them have been confirmed as the real deal. As of right now, only 8 remain in Egypt.
The first
Giant monoliths at Baalbek. The most mysterious ruins of the Roman Empire lie in the city of Baalbek in Lebanon. During the Roman era, the city of Baalbek was known as Heliopolis, or the City of the Sun. This city featured a huge temple and various other buildings. Modern-day archaeologists have been able to identify most of the buildings and their usage, but it's the giant stone that have left researchers with more questions than answers. Some of these stones are considered to be from an even earlier period, but one thing that is known is that these giant stones are some of the biggest megaliths on the planet. There are several of these giant stones here, some of which weigh in the region of more than 1,000 tons each. The largest stone is estimated to weigh over 1,500 tons. It's considered to be the largest cut stone in the world, and how it was moved and worked on is still up for debate. Another incredible fact that has baffled archaeologists is the amazing precise positioning and fitting of these stones. To give you an idea, some of these stones are fitted with such accuracy that it is almost impossible to insert even a needle between them. Many people believe that some of the earlier civilizations were way more advanced than first thought, and that these creations prove this. The Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone is seen as one of the single most greatest discoveries that has resonated with changes all around the world to uncover the secrets that many at the time believed would never be understood. Discovered in 1799, the Rosetta Stone proved to be the missing key required to decipher the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics as well as the mysteries of the ancient Egyptian civilization as a whole. The stone itself had 3 separate written languages inscribed upon it that was believed to have been created back in 196 BC, and told the story of the deeds that had been accomplished by the pharaoh at that time that was believed to have been written by the high priests of Egypt. Using these translations as the basis for the language, experts began translating decades of hieroglyphic scriptures discovered all around ancient Egypt that before this point could not be understood. Not only did this lead to an explosion of knowledge in the Egyptologist community, but helped to shed incredible light into one of the oldest civilizations on the planet. Many experts believe that without this incredible discovery, we would still be no closer to translating the ancient Egyptian language even in modern day. The Pharaoh's inscription. One of the biggest discoveries that helped to launch the careers of many self-proclaimed experts in the study of Egypt and its ancient culture was the discovery that the pyramids of Giza were constructed by the pharaoh Khufu, of which put the pyramids at a certain date of construction and time. This was, at the time, seen as a tremendous breakthrough in the Egyptology community and left many other experts scratching their heads as to why they didn't find evidence of it before. The problem with this discovery, however, is that the only evidence of the name of the pharaoh referenced on the pyramid was an old carving in that of the Campbell's chamber that many believe could have been the cartouche of and his royal signature. As it later turns out, the carving was an obvious forgery, with the dating of the piece, the damage done to the piece, and even the incorrect spelling and carving of the cartouche being the smoking gun evidence that it was nothing more than Egyptologists looking to take a false sense of fame and fortune with their published works. This has led to an incredibly large piece of history that has been completely wrong, and given the fact that the majority of works in the modern day were built off of these ancient findings, it appears that the experts could have gotten it completely backwards. Not only is there physical and scientific evidence of the pyramids being much older, possibly even older than human civilization itself, but it appears that the Egyptian government has politicized this issue so that no other people and countries can lay legitimate land claim in the territories currently being of the organization of the Egyptian people. This has led many Egyptologists to reject true evidence of dating, references to the timeline of an actual reign of a pharaoh, and even the complete rejection of any ideas involving alternate explanations of construction, time frame, and even historical impacts. The rate the universe is expanding. Astronomers have discovered something interesting while using NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. They have said that recent findings have allowed them to measure the universe's expansion rate. For those unaware, the universe is getting bigger every second. But the big questions are why and how. The space between galaxies is forever growing, but what this recent study has shown researchers is that the modern universe is expanding faster than we expected. This is based on when the universe was first formed 13 billion years ago. One of the issues with space is we really don't understand how it works, with some scientists coming forward and saying that the human brain can't comprehend its size. Researchers have said the universe is expanding 5% to 9% faster than expected. One of the scientists said the following: "This surprising finding may be an important clue to understanding those mysterious parts of the universe that make up to 95% of everything and don't emit light, such as dark energy, dark matter, and dark radiation." These results were published in an upcoming issue of the Astrophysical Journal. The moon is shrinking. Earth's moon was formed around 4.6 billion years ago, and it's always in synchronous rotation with Earth, which means that we always see the same side of the moon. The first unmanned mission to the moon was in 1959 by the Soviet lunar program, with the first manned landing being Apollo 11 in 1969. Due to its size and composition, the moon is sometimes classified as a terrestrial planet, along with Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. In the summer of 1994, the moon was very extensively mapped by the little spacecraft Clementine, and again in 1999 by Lunar Prospect. In recent years, there has been a special interest in the dark side of the moon. This popular term refers to the fact that the same physical half of the moon is always facing Earth, which in turn means that there's a dark side. Recent NASA scientists have come forward and said that they've discovered something interesting about our moon. They said that it's shrinking and shaking. They've said that their studies have shown that the inside of the moon has shriveled up and that deep cliffs can be found all over its surface. What's interesting is that this recent study suggests that the moon could still be shrinking. Researchers have also come forward and said that the moon's surface crust is brittle and that due to the moon shrinking, it's starting to break the surface. One of the senior scientists at NASA said the following about this discovery: "Our analysis gives the first evidence that these faults are still active and likely producing moonquakes today as the moon continues to gradually cool and shrink. Some of these quakes can be fairly strong, around 5 on the Richter scale." The scientists have also been using high-detailed images to help the discovery of other faults. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter camera has snapped over 3,500 images, and these have helped scientists to understand what's going on the surface of the moon. Some photographs in particular have shown them that there are bright patches and scraps on certain terrains. These small details are showing the researchers that recent quakes have happened on the moon. These moonquakes can last up to an hour and have been known to send boulders rolling down cliff slopes. One researcher said that around 20 to 30% of the moonquakes were most likely generated by built-up energy from these faults, and that they didn't think this had happened from naturally occurring space debris like asteroids. NASA scientists have said that they are keeping a close eye on this seismic shake. This recent discovery was published in the journal